Assalamu alaikum. Now, today we are going to do how to write a research proposal, some basic elements, and how to write introduction. The objective of this lecture is to give you awareness about how to write the research proposal and the important points to keep in mind while writing proposal. The overview or the things that we are going to cover today includes how to write the title page, the abstract, and the section of the research proposal, how many sections are there in a research proposal, and we are going to discuss a little bit about the first section, that is the introduction. In the previous lecture related with the research proposal, I have discussed the definition of research proposal, introduction, the guidelines, how to write proposal, the mistakes that are commonly done by people, and the do's and the don'ts. So starting with how to write a research proposal. Basically, a research proposal is intended to convince others that you have a worthwhile research project and that you have a competence and the work plan to complete it. So basically, it's the idea to show that you have got a complete idea how to do your research. Secondly, generally, a research proposal should contain all the key elements involved in the research process and include sufficient information for the readers to evaluate the proposed study. I hope you remember that in the last lecture, I have told you some questions and the answers and how those answers can be related in specific sections, in specific under specific headings, right? So this is the same thing, that there are some important key elements that need to be included in the research proposal. Regardless of your research area and the methodology you use, all research proposals must address these three questions. What you plan to accomplish, so what is your plan, what you want to do, why you want to do it, what is the purpose behind, the significance or the rationale of doing your research, and how you are going to do it, that is your methodology, how will you conduct this research, what will be your tools, how will you analyze the data and all. Okay, so basically a research proposal has got these two important things, right? You need to include sufficient information to convince your reader that you have an important research idea and have a good grasp of the relevant literature and the major issues, and to show that your methodology is good, right? So before starting that, you need to make a proper title page and you need to write an abstract as well. Okay, so let's talk about the title. The title should be concise and descriptive. Often titles are stated in terms of a functional relationship because such titles clearly indicate the independent and the dependent variables. However, if possible, think of an informative but catchy title. An effective title not only pricks the reader's interest but also predisposes him or her favorable towards the proposal. Basically, over here we are talking about the research title, right? The title of your research that we have already finalized. Okay, to make it more interesting, you can change it. You can rephrase it. Okay, to look more interesting and more favorable. And keep this in your mind that it should be concise and descriptive as well, that it should describe each and every element, that is, it should include the label and the important thing variable that is you are going to focus on. Okay, and when we talk about the title page of the research proposal, then it should have your research title, it should have your name, your supervisors or your teacher who is teaching your teaching research methodology, your teacher's name should be there, your class, your seat number, your enrollment number, right, and name of the department, so and the date of submission of the research proposal. So these are the important things that you have to include in on the title page along with your research title. The second page should be of an abstract. Now, what is an abstract? Basically, it's a kind of a summary, right, of everything that you are explaining or telling your research teacher in your research proposal. Okay, that should be of around 300 words. It should include the question, the rationale, the hypothesis in a proper paragraph form. Okay, we'll discuss this in detail later on. But basically the thing is that your research question should be there, right? Not in the form of an actual question. ठीक है, इस तरह से आप डिस्कस करेंगे कि आप वो पता चल जाए कि दिस इज योर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन, द रैशनल और द रीजन or the significance of your study, why you want to do that, the hypothesis if there is any, especially in case of quantitative research, especially quasi experiments, you have to include the hypothesis. अगर correlational study है या quasi experiment है तो hypothesis भी include करना ज़रूरी होता है. The method, how you are going to cover that, the design. Method means over here the design and the tools. Okay, and the possible findings if there are any, or if you think there might be possible. Findings are usually not necessary in a research proposal. Okay. Now, basically, the structure of a research proposal, a typical research proposal, has got 4 sections. चैप्टर नहीं होंगे, यहाँ पे सेक्शन होंगे. जब आप प्रॉपर रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट लिखेंगे तो उसमें चैप्टर्स होंगे. प्लीज़ बी केयरफुल अबाउट इट. वहाँ चैप्टर्स होंगे, यहाँ सेक्शंस है. ठीक है. एंड देयर आर ओनली 4 सेक्शंस इन अ रिसर्च प्रपोजल: एन इंट्रोडक्शन, लिटरेचर रिव्यू, मेथडोलॉजी एंड द फाइनल सेक्शन. इंट्रोडक्शन में क्या होगा? बेसिकली इंट्रोडक्शन इंट्रोड्यूसेस सिलेक्टेड प्रॉब्लम, द रिसर्च टाइटल. वाई यू हैव रिसर्च टाइटल जो है बेसिकली इट्स अ प्रॉब्लम, right, which you are focusing on and for which you are trying to find out a solution, right? I hope आपको याद होगा कि हमने जो first few classes में एक slide discuss की थी, what is research, right? So research is trying to find out the solution to a problem, right? So you have selected a problem. Now it's time to introduce that thing and help the reader in placing the study in terms of its focus, need and benefit. Basically, it generally answers the question what. Second section is the literature review. Basically, it includes the relevant researches already done on that particular topic. आप लोगों को अभी मैंने कहा था कि 5 रिसर्चेस ढूंढने के लिए, ठीक है? That was only to I mean to approve your research topic. Okay, but the thing is that for writing a proper literature review you have to include at least 15 researches. Okay, related with your particular, specifically related with your topic. उसके अलावा जितना मर्जी आप ऐड करें, it's good, it will be good, right? But at least include 15 researches in your literature review. Okay. Then section 3 is methodology, which deals with the clear communication of methods and procedures used to implement the study in order to reach the answers to the questions raised in section 1. सेक्शन 1 में जो भी आपने क्वेश्चन रेस किया, जो भी चीज़ें मेंशन की, उसको किस तरह से कवर करना है, उसकी क्या डिज़ाइन होगा, क्या टूल्स यूज़ करेंगे, किस तरह से उसको एनालाइज करेंगे, ये सारी चीज़ें आपको मेथोडोलॉजी में मेंशन करनी होंगी. Basically, it helps the reader in reaching the answer to the question how. Means how will you conduct your research? This question will be answered in this section of methodology. In section 4, there is the final section provides an additional information about the academic and other resources that you may employ in your studies. कि कितना टाइम कवर होगा, ये बेसिकली चारों सेक्शंस हम बहुत डिटेल में सब आगे कवर करेंगे. This is just to give you an overall idea of how many sections are there and what's there in a section. Okay, so let's move on towards the introduction. This is the first section, introduction. The main purpose of the introduction is to provide the necessary background or context of your research proposal. How to frame the research problem is perhaps the biggest problem in proposal writing. Okay, कि किस तरह से बनाना है, क्या करना है, क्या होना चाहिए, प्रॉब्लम को किस तरह से शो करना है और किस तरह से उसको सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करनी है. This is the introduction part. However, try to place your research question in the context of either a current hot area or an older area that remains viable. Like for example, the researches are done in different other areas of the world, and now you want to do your research in Pakistan. Right? So how you can do that and why you are doing that, you have to justify it. या तो बहुत कम रिसर्चेज हुई हुई है पाकिस्तान में उस टॉपिक पे, या कोई नया एरिया उसी में आपने निकाला है. जैसे मैंने बात की थी कोड स्विचिंग की, तो कोड स्विचिंग इतना ज़्यादा हो चुका है हर हर जगह, इवन इन पाकिस्तान, कि अब उसकी इम्पोर्टेंस इतनी नहीं रही। उसके ऑलरेडी इतनी रिसर्च हो चुकी है। अगर आप उसी में से कुछ नया निकालना चाहते हैं, कोई नई डायरेक्शन, देन यू हैव टू मेंशन दैट कि भाई दिस इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम, एक्चुअली पीपल हैव कवर्ड दिस इन दिस एंगल, तो अब मैं इस एंगल से काम करना चाह रही हूँ। ठीक है, ऑल दिस थिंग यू हैव टू मेंशन इन द introduction. Secondly, you need to provide a brief but appropriate historical backdrop. Thirdly, provide the temporary context in which your proposed research question occupies a central stage. Finally, identify key players and refer to the most relevant representative publication. Okay, so these are the important things. Where your that question will be solved, what is the history, the background of your topic, and the contemporary means current researches that are done, especially in your area or in especially in Pakistan, for example, and what are the key elements of and how can it be published. I mean, research can be published or completed. In short, try to paint your research question in broad brush, at the same time bring out its significance. So basically this is the introduction of your research, the section of the introduction, how to cover your research, right? उसका background क्या है, क्या question है, किस तरह से क्या importance है, क्या rationale है, reason है, क्यों कर रहे हैं, all these things are included here. Basically, it covers the following elements: state the research problem, which is often referred to as the purpose of the study, provide the context, and set the stage for your research question in such a way as to show its necessity and importance, present the rationale of your proposed study and clearly indicate why it is worth doing, briefly describe the major issues and the sub-problems to be addressed by your research, identify the key independent and dependent variables of your experiment. Alternatively, specify the phenomena you want to study. State your hypothesis or theory, if any. For exploratory or phenomenological research, you may not have any hypothesis. So don't worry about that. If it is not necessary, then there is no need to add it. Set the delimitations or the boundaries of your proposed research in order to provide a clear focus. Provide the definition of key concepts. I know that there are many terms on this particular page which are very new to you people. Okay? Don't worry about that. We are going to discuss it in detail, each and everything. ठीक है, और ये सारी चीज़ें किस ऑर्डर में किस तरीके से करनी है वो भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे. Now, in order to show you the order in which these elements will be covered, let me show you the other next slide. This is how you have to cover your first introduction section. Okay, the background overall आपकी research का background, the problem, objective of the study, the justification, limitation, scope, assumption, and definition of the key terms. Now think about these headings, right? I'm going to explain each and every of these subheading in detail. Okay, don't worry about that. In the next lecture we are going to discuss all these things. Till then, think about it. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much.